Hello! Today I will be doing a deck review for the Nomad Tarot. So, this will be my second public YouTube video. I will be keeping this one much shorter because last time I made the mistake of kind of combining two topics because I wanted to do the Cosmos review, but also like a kind of like a video showing my metaphysical shop haul from my birthday weekend, but this one will be much shorter because I'm sure a lot of people didn't even make it to the end of that video because it was like an hour long. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and dive right in. Couple announcements real quick. If you aren't subscribed to my newsletter, want to go ahead and encourage you to do that because basically it's not even like a real newsletter. It's not like you're gonna get bombarded by like constant emails from me. I haven't even sent out an actual newsletter. It's really just numerology horoscopes from me. So what that means is like I send these out every Sunday, and it's kind of just a weekly forecast based upon your life path number, which is kind of the equivalent of your sun sign in astrology. And there's a little guide, if you don't know what yours is, that I've made to kind of break it down as easy as possible. And if you still have questions, you can, of course, contact me and I will help you figure it out. But, anyways. And so, basically, if you aren't subscribed to that, then you've missed the kind of like updates. But originally, I've always been with Etsy in terms of like how you purchase readings from me. And I recently thought that I was going to shift over to Store Envy, and then very quickly saw that that wasn't going to work for me. And now I'm just going to go right back to Etsy because that's what I've always known, and it just is working out that way. So anyways, I will be moving the new listings back over to Etsy and shutting down my Store Envy. So basically, if you go to my website, book a reading now takes you right back to my Etsy. So that's where all my reviews and everything is, all 116 of them and everything like that. So basically everything will be going back exactly to how it used to be. So kind of a pointless mess, but whatever, things work out how they're supposed to be, and I learned a lesson, I guess. So whatever. But anyways, go ahead and dive in. I know a lot of times when people do deck reviews, they do these kind of like box opening type ordeals. And I know that's kind of cool to watch too, but I kind of wanted to wait to do a review for some of these decks that are newer because I'm not going to waste my time doing reviews for like the Wild Unknown or anything like that because these are older decks essentially that have tons and tons and tons of reviews. So there's no point in me reviewing it. But decks like the Cosmos and the Nomad are fairly newer and aren't as reviewed, I guess. But I didn't want to do something like an unboxing review because while those are really cool, it also takes away from the usage of the deck and what you truly get out of it, I guess, would be the terms that I'm looking for. Because you kind of don't get the full spectrum of a review of a deck that way if you're just seeing what happens as you unbox it. You're just kind of getting the skim of the deck, I guess. Got my coffee today. Also, look at my cute little mug. This is from one of my wonderful friends, Jake. He works at like a kitchen collection or something, and they always have like these cute little things. But anyways, I digress. So anyhow, I had been dying to get the Nomad. I mean, the Nomad has been out for a little while, but it's actually one of those decks that you do not see people have that often. One, because it's hard as shit to get. Let that be known. It is hard as shit to get. My boyfriend had tried to get it for me forever. I have been trying to get this deck forever. It is very hard to get. I don't know why, but it is. So that's probably one of the reasons why you don't see people have it very often. So finally, I got my hands on it. So with that being said, it can be very difficult to get. But, kind of lost my train of thought there. But it is definitely one of those decks that you don't see people using very often. And I don't know if that is solely because it is kind of difficult to get, or if that's just because people are kind of off put by the fact that it's solely black and white, or just whatever. But anyways, I obviously don't have the actual box that it came in, and when I say that, I mean like the package, because it didn't come in an actual box. This isn't one of those decks that comes in like a, at least from where I ordered it from, it did not come in a box. It came in the package, and it came with a guidebook. This is kind of like a very glossy book, so it's going to have like a, but anyways, it's kind of thin, but that's because it's big and has big pages. We'll look at it in more in depth in a second, but it comes with a very nice guidebook. It's thick, and it's glossy, but the pages are in black and white, but they're big and large, and they have pictures of the cards, but we'll look at that in more in depth in a second. But anyways, and then it comes with the deck and a nice little deck bag. It doesn't come with a deck box, which is totally fine, because if you watch my Periscope about deck care, it's always good to actually have essentially a deck home for your cards. Because sometimes whenever you order a deck, it just doesn't come with anything, and that's fine, but you ideally want to have something to put your deck in, whether it's a deck bag, a deck box, whatever, just something to put them in, because you don't want them to get tore up. So anyways, so it comes with this very nice kind of, it's not necessarily embroidered, it's just got a print on it. Kind of almost like a mandala type thing on it. It's very pretty, and it's just a nice little bag. It's got these little things that you, it's very nice actually. So, that's what it comes with. At least from who I particularly ordered it from, because it doesn't have a solid website to order it from. Even though there's like one main provider typically that you get it from, but it had been out of stock for a long time, but there was like 2 other websites you could get it from, and they were out of stock, and then the other person was out of stock, and then we finally found it somewhere you could get it, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But like I said, it is very hard to get, because it's been out of stock for a long time. I've had it for a while now, but at the time, I'd been searching for it for months upon months upon months upon months, because I desperately wanted it, because I'm very eccentric in my in my deck lust, per se. I don't like your typical conventional decks. I despise Rider-Waite. No offense to those of you who love Rider-Waite. It is not my thing. I do not like conventional decks. I'm not drawn to the imagery. So I like decks that are very unconventional and eccentric. So when I find a deck that I actually am connected to and love, I have to have it. So when I found the Nomad and was drawn to it, I had to have it. And then of course it was impossible to get. So anyhow, keeping with my goal here to make this video short, we will go ahead and dive in. So, like I said, it comes with this nice little bag with the mandala-esque print. And the cards fit very nice in it. Just to give you a better look at the bag, it's a slightly larger, barely just to accommodate the deck size. But like I said, it's a very sturdy bag. It's made out of a very nice material. I wouldn't know the exact way to describe the material, but it's very nice. So that was a nice touch. And so immediately, to go ahead and get into discussing the way the deck feels. The cardstock in itself is thin. It's flimsy, But like I said, if you watched my other deck review, I don't necessarily have an issue with thin deck stock, because just because a deck has thin cardstock, that doesn't inherently mean that it is fragile, because it can be thin and actually be, would malleable be the word? It can be thin yet adaptable. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to crumble and fall apart and, like, kind of, what would be the word I'm looking for here? Just because it's thin doesn't mean that it's actually going to bend and not return to its shape. So, as you can see, whoop, dropped it. I would say that the cardstock is that of probably very similar to the Cosmos. Maybe just a smidge thicker, but it, not an issue. The cards themselves, the image quality is beautiful, but there's like this sort of mixture of matte and glossy. And this is my only issue, because as I've used this deck, there is a degradation in the actual quality. I don't know if you guys can see this, but you see that? The card begins to wear away with shuffling, and that really bothers me. See that? That is my only issue with this deck. And that, for that very reason, is why I prefer for people to wait a little bit before they do a deck review. Now, I am by no means someone who is careless with my cards. This is just from natural wear and tear. And I've only had this deck probably since January, maybe? I don't know. But, I don't know if you can see it on this one or not. Well, now I've lost my, I'm losing, like, but anyhow, I mean, if that's something that doesn't bother you, I mean, I love the deck overall. I mean, towards the end, I'll give you an overall type of ordeal, but, the thing is, just, that's a pet peeve of mine, is I hate seeing my cards kind of falling apart a little bit. Naturally, of course, the more you use them, you're gonna see a little bit of destruction to the cards. You're gonna see edges of the cards kind of flip up and the sides just start. I mean, that's gonna happen, whether you like it or not. That's just what happens with a lot of usage. But I felt like that, just the way that, how easily I guess what I'm trying to say here is, I just felt like that, well, I still have to figure out the directions of which way I need to be moving, but I don't know if you can actually see that or not. I've had to turn down my monitor so there wouldn't be glare on these cards. But anyhow, here in just a second, we'll start looking at some more of the individual cards. But anyhow, the only reason I was showing you that was for the sake of looking at the damage. But that, I mean, like I said, it's not that I'm upset that there's damage per se, because I expect that. But it's just the fact that it's part of the matte glossiness on the actual cardstock and just wearing away with the shuffling rather than just age that comes with such high usage over the years. I mean, I've had these since like January. So whatever. But anyways, so with that being said, this is also an unconventional deck. So what that means is that, as I mentioned in the Cosmos, the suits are a little different. These go by elements also, rather than your wands. These are fire, air, earth, and water. And so, if you are not used to this, it can be a little confusing. This deck, on average, will be harder for you to read than the Cosmos. That being because it is minimalist. And so there is very little for you to go by if you are an intuitive reader who may even try to draw from what you see in the image. So, this as an example. This is the Five of Wands, essentially. Most depictions of the Five of Wands show some sort, typically a group of people who are in some sort of conflict or in some sort of disagreement or are working against each other. Not always, but if you were a beginner reader, you might have trouble trying to figure out what you need to take from this if you aren't already well versed in what the Five of Wands often means. This may be a hard deck for beginners to work with. Not that I'm discouraging from beginners getting this, because it can be a great challenge of how you can work with this and really test yourself and really up your abilities. I highly encourage people to not be afraid of learning with unconventional decks, because I did, and you shouldn't be afraid of things that you might be worried about working with. I just want to mention this because it can be extremely off-putting at first. When I first got this and saw how minimalist the suits were, because they can almost get kind of lost among one another. This is the wands, essentially. At first, I was kind of off-put by them, because there's not much variance. There's just, this is the wands. But after I played with it more, I actually really loved the minimalist aspects of it. I just want to show you guys this, because I don't want you to be surprised by that and be turned off by it. Because once you embrace it, you love it. But like I said, the suits are very minimalist and can be kind of off-putting at first. So, to go ahead and dive into some of the major arcana, whatever, arcana is what I say. I really, really love the trump cards, basically. Here's another suit. This is water, aka cups. They are all signified by shells. I'll just give you guys a little run through. Here's earth. It's crystals, which I really, really loved. Here's air, which is feathers. But once you get used to that minimalism, there's something really alluring about it. I don't know. I really love it now. But at first I was like, what? How am I supposed to like all these kind of like muddled together? Because I was just, I don't know. I don't know. Here's a knight card, knight of water, but aka cups. I really love this one. This is the ace of earth, but look at all the different variations in crystals. But I really, really love their takes on these. Kind of almost, some of them are kind of steampunky, but they're very, I don't know how to describe them. They're very interesting. Kind of almost like lucid, dreamlike. This one's one of my favorites, of course, because my primary spirit guide is a wolf. Here's the Fool. I particularly love this interpretation of the Fool, because a lot of times people tend to think that the Fool is almost a bad card, because you feel like a lot of times clients feel that the Fool is symbolizing that you're being stupid or naive, when really the Fool kind of is reminding you to be vulnerable and reminding you to be vulnerable in order to see the beauty of the world. You see all these flowers and how this person is unafraid to be naked and vulnerable in order to see the beauty of the world. It's a very potent interpretation. The Empress. Creativity and manifestation, of course. We'll dive into the guidebook here in just a second. Here's Death. The Chariot. Salmon swimming upstream. Like I said, this deck is very dreamlike, kind of, which once you get used to that minimalism, it kind of connects more deeply on that level, because I dream, I mean, everybody dreams very often, and even if you think that you didn't dream that night, that means that your REM cycle, REM cycle, has completed. You often have more than one. That is that deep, deep cycle in which that your eyelids are moving back and forth in your eyes and all this, and that's when you're dreaming, technically. And that usually occurs between, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, hours like 4 and 5, usually. So, depending on how long you sleep, you can encounter more than one. But, I mean, especially if you're sleeping very briefly, you can have more than one. Because even though I said that encounters usually at hour 4, if you sleep less, you might enter that sooner, if that makes sense. I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but anyways, because I'm going to confuse everybody. I get very nerdy about psychology, but anyhow, basically, what I'm about to say is that when you think about dreaming, there can be this very disconjointed minimalist elements in your dreams. And this is kind of what this deck reminds me of. And then the more I connected to it, the more I loved it. Because, like I said, it's like you... So, okay, my point about your dreams is that even if you think you didn't dream, you completed your REM cycle, and therefore you finished your dreams, and you were less likely to remember them. However, if you didn't finish REM cycle, you are more likely to wake up during it and remember your dreams. There you go. Psychology tip for the day. The more you know. Anyhow, I'm like getting all this information I want to tell you guys, and this is exactly how the other video ended up so long. So anyways, the thing is even if you think you don't dream, you are always dreaming. It's just that if you don't remember it, it's most likely because you finished your REM cycles. Anyhow, this deck reminds me of the very lucid and disconjointed minimalist elements that you might see in your dream. All these things that are just so random and weird but beautiful, and just don't make any sense a lot of the times, because they're just there, and I don't know, and just minimalist and simple. I don't know. But anyways, I'm kind of going on a tangent, because has anyone ever watched Courage the Cowardly Dog? Because I love that show, and this card reminds me of their house in Nowhere. Does this not remind you of Nowhere? Because I hope it does, because if not, I'm going to look like the weirdest dork ever. But I love this card so much because it reminds me of Courage the Cowardly Dog. Which even more contributes to, like, the weird and, like, lucid feeling to this deck. Because their show was like that in The Lovers. Hangman. I like this interpretation of the Hangman a lot. Because this is a very uncommon interpretation of the Hangman. Because often, when we see the Hangman, he's hanging upside down by his foot. And people tend to get a more negative connotation of what the Hangman means. When rather, the Hangman is a time of deep, deep introspection in order to connect to what we really need to do that will send us into that positive change and new beginnings, even though it may mean a time of sacrifices. This shows that this person is clearly putting into some deep thought about something important he must do. This guy's meditating. He is connecting to some sort of deep spirituality, some deep thought. Whereas other times we see, like I said, the Hangman is some sort of position of pain, turmoil, hanging upside down. He's in some spot to be out of control, no power. Where this guy has a lot of power. He is connecting to his self. I really love that. And the Magician. This is pretty sweet. Okay. Since this video is starting to get kind of long, I want to keep it very, very short here. We're going to go ahead and look at the deck. I mean, not the deck, the guidebook, I'm sorry. Oh, by the way, just to comment on how the shuffles. Of course, it shuffles very, very well. Just like the Cosmos. Shuffles like a dream. So, let's look at the deck guide. Like I said, it is very... Get the hiccups now. It's very large. It's got a little summary on the back. So... It has a page. First, it goes into detail about the major arcana. And it has a page dedicated to each one, explaining them. Let's look at... Let's look at... Let's look at the Hangman, just because I love that card so much. Just to give you an idea of, like, how they view the cards, I guess. Because, like I said, I think it's important that while guides aren't necessary, I think it's important for a well-rounded guide to be included, because you can connect to a guide and learn so much more with each deck. Really, there's such a unique connection to be had with each deck that you own. So, the Hangman charges us to stop struggling against life's challenges, to move forward and reach enlightenment. By giving up old ways of looking at life, we are blessed with new eyes, though this new achievement must come through sacrifice. The Hangman has found calm and a strong inner peace through surrender to the rhythms of life. So, really love the way that these cards are described. Because, like I said in my other video, some ways that cards are described are very clear, not clear, but very cut and dry, and I feel that that is kind of doing tarot a disservice almost sometimes, because there is a lot more to the universal guidance that can be given. So, anyways, then it goes into the lost my to the suits. and it starts off with a quick guide of what, oops, I swear, I'm having a hard time, like, trying to, God bless. Okay, here. I cannot figure out the directions of this camera. I'm so sorry. So, a quick guide, and, this quick guide kind of, I like that they include this. I think that's pretty cool for the most part. It kind of gives you a universal basis for what each card means, but from what I gather, that's them applying that each number means exactly the same almost. And I mean, while that certainly can help you, I guess, that's not, I personally don't read that way, but whatever. I don't feel like each 7 of each suit means victory, needless to say. So, anyways, each explanation of each suit in the book starts off with a massive spread of all the cards. So, like, that's fire, and then it goes into detail about each of the suit cards. Small detail, rather, but also in this deck there is an extra card in each of the suits, and that is the child card. Like child of fire, child of earth, child of water, and child of air. That is not the ace, apparently. I thought it was, but it is not. There is also an ace. So, like, here's water. And so, and lastly, they have ideas for readings. Nothing incredible here, like the cosmos. They, which is fine. You don't always have to have anything amazing in the book. I mean, ideally, you can always, if you need ideas for new readings, you can Google, but I highly suggest that you really test your own creativity and start coming up with things for yourself. But it's always neat if there is, some, creative little spreads in a guide, but that doesn't have to be. It's not like that makes or breaks something. But anyways, what we've got here is your stereotypical 3 card, past, present, future, and then she writes, my favorite for birthdays and New Year's, or when you just want to check in with tarot. And then she's got a 1 card, pull 1 card a day, can be in response to a daily question or goal, or just something to keep in mind and meditate on during the day, which I'll do for you guys, just for myself, just for fun. And then she has got how to find your personality card, so that's neat. Find your major arcana personality card based on the numerology of your birth date. Add the digits of your birthday until you reach a value from 1 to 22. For example, my birthday is August 3rd, 1980. So I would add 8 plus 3 plus 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 0 equals 29 equals 2 plus 9 equals 11, justice. I find that in practice, rather than a card that describes your personality, this card is an aspect of your life that you need to keep working on or keep in the front of your mind. And then she just has the Celtic cross, which, if you don't know it, that's honestly a really good spread to know. I haven't done it in a long time, but overall that's a really good spread to have. It's a classic, really. So this is almost 35 minutes long, so I'm going to get ready to end this, but we're going to do a 1 card spread for myself. Really don't have a question off the top of my mind at the moment, so I will just ask the deck the Nomad what I need to hear today. Which I do a lot of the times. I don't really have a specific question, but I often pull just one card for myself under that sort of prompt, usually daily. Just, what do I need to hear? What do I need to hear? So, whoop, I just had a jumper card. Queen of Water. Oh boy, do I need to hear that? Because... Alright, really quickly. Whew. I'll tell you what, and if you do not know what a jumper card is, that is a card that pretty much forcibly, is that even a word? Forcibly, just comes slinging out of the deck, and it's like, hey, look at me, this is, you better pull me, basically. It just comes flying out of the deck, and that's way different than if you're just shuffling cards and a bunch of cards go flying everywhere. That's much different. That's usually you shuffling like a mad person. And a jumper card is usually one distinct card that comes flying out. So, and that is just what happened to me. So anyhow, my Nomad deck is feeling quite sassy today. Like, apparently. And it's like, look. So, Queen of Water. I will tell you what I feel about this, and then we'll just read a quick interpretation, just for the sake of reading some more of Jennifer's writing about the cards. So real quick, before I end this, the Queen of Water is someone who is very in tune with themselves. They are balanced, they are in touch with their intuition, and they are very connected to their core. And while I very much so feel that I am that Queen of Water, lately I have been struggling so much. And I am feeling so sporadic. I feel so disconnected in so many different ways. And like I said, this video is not about me, but I'm touching on myself candidly for the sake of a mini reading. And so this Queen of Water is reminding me that now is the time to focus on myself and to focus on how I can adapt and move back to feeling balanced and connecting to all those emotional strengths that I have. To basically connect to being that Queen of Water. So, with that being said, real quick, let's look at what Jennifer has to say. The most successful and harmonious of all the water cards, the Queen shows us the possibilities of unleashed by blending imagination and creativity with action and social usefulness. She is at peace with her emotions, using them to feed her inner consciousness, and has directed her creative energy into achieving the fancies of her imagination. She knows what she wants and will take the steps to achieve it. This can speak specifically to artistic endeavors or any creation manifested out of what life has presented us with. So, alright guys. With that being said, to give you a very, very quick summary about how I feel about this deck, I love it. It is a beautiful deck. It's very powerful. You will have a deep connection with it, undoubtedly. The only problems is that the kind of weird texture that's on the cards does kind of begin to smudge after shuffling with it a little bit. And you might be a little off-put by it at first, but all I suggest is that you get over that very quickly just by simply using it. And if you are someone who gets a deck and doesn't mess with it, then you really don't have you really have no business buying one. Because what's the point in buying a deck not to use it, other than you just got it and you didn't connect with it? Then you really should just do yourself a favor and trade it or sell it. Because that happens. I'm just saying, don't get decks just not to use them. Because you're wasting your money. But anyhow, 10 out of 10, would recommend this deck. And with that being said, I will be making a YouTube video again this weekend probably, and I'll be on Periscope Wednesday, I think. But I hope you guys enjoyed the Nomad. And thank you for watching. Namaste.